The Dark Knight film, this was such a lot over a tender film, this was so much more than a comic book film. The Dark Knight truly delivers with drama, action, romance, horror, dark humor, the study of an insane killer, a detective story. The force behind this epic show is patron Saint Nolan, whose previous film, Tender Begins, didn't extremely thrill me, however his unimaginable film creating is actually shown within The Dark Knight. The shots that he got of Gotham town were fully fantastic. The Dark Knight film, this was such a lot over a tender film, this was so much more than a comic book film. The Dark Knight truly delivers with drama, action, romance, horror, dark humor, the study of an insane killer, a detective story. The force behind this epic show is patron Saint Nolan, whose previous film, Tender Begins, didn't extremely thrill me, however his unimaginable film creating is actually shown within The Dark Knight. The shots that he got of Gotham town were fully fantastic. And created you are feeling a part of the city, part of the tender story. One amongst the items that I absolutely preferred regarding The Dark Knight is that commonly with a comic book movie, you recognize it not real, individuals don't dress up in costumes and save the day, villains don't name themselves crazy names and dress in conjure or crazy costumes, however The Dark Knight truly makes it appear improbably real, find it irresistible may happen. Bruce Wayne remains learning away. To be in his double lifetime of Tender and himself, he has lost wife to the new district attorney, Physician Dent, he inspiring others who are dressing up as Tender and try to take on the villains of town themselves. However things are a lot of worse once the Joker waltzes into town, and he intending to bring hell upon Gotham City. Perpetually fidgeting with Gotham mind and making an attempt to induce Tender to reveal himself, Tender has ne'er restricted such an insane genius before. The Joker has named himself because the classy villain that Gotham needs, he conjointly has brought a replacement thought into Tender head of them truly being a lot of alike than different, that Tender completes him, the Joker would be nothing while not him. However Batman is wishing on Physician Dent, who is Gotham White Knight making an attempt to place all of Gotham scum in jail. However once the Joker plays Tender and Commissioner Gordon, physician and wife notice themselves in terribly horrific position and Harvey should discover if he can die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. All the performances are dead on during this movie, currently everyone going crazy over Heath Ledger's performance, but one performance I'd conjointly like to credit is Aaron Theologian who plays Harvey Dent / Two-Face. His performance was even as nice as Heath and created Two-Face a person's villain. You'll perceive his hate and revenge on what happened to him and why he became Two-Face. I do know that everybody is oral communication. This however I actually mean after I say this can be one of one among one in a during a in an exceedingly in a terribly allel one amongst one in every of the simplest movies I even have seen in a very long time. We have a tendency to had some nice movies these past few years, but I believe The Dark Knight is seriously one thing special, but I don't want to build it up an excessive amount of since some individuals attend the arena expecting my words to be constant as your own. In my opinion, although this is not a great show, I can't return up with a word describe however improbably powerful this movie was. To be honest, I'd go higher than a 10 rating if I may. This can be the tender film that we've been waiting for. I've seen it double in one weekend. I'm intending to see it 3 times this future week. I don't mind one bit. I can't look ahead to the sequel, and that I would rather like to mention RIP to Heath, want he could have seen his breath taking performance because The Joker, best superhero movie of all time. I believe that I may wax lyrical however this show all day. It's absolutely unimaginable from begin to finish. This can be the Tender trilogy second outing. It's stuffed with hard-hitting action and nearly each scene is totally bewitching to watch. The story is basically good. The twists and turns keep the viewer perpetually on their toes, particularly within the third act of the movie. There are such a lot of unforgettable scenes packed throughout this movie, so many quotes and concepts besprent throughout that you just most likely could analyze it for hours. As a result of whereas the action and story is incredible, it's the dynamic between the Tender and also the Joker that basically makes this show what it is. It's dead the distinction between the two. Right against wrong. Chaos and lawlessness versus order. The Joker is that the excellent villain for Tender. Tender is literally, as aforesaid within the movie, a symbol. The terribly essence of the concept of the Tender is targeted around order, rules, and ethical codes. He's the embodiment of what's right. The Joker challenges the very core and foundation of who Batman is and what he stands for. He's somebody who won't follow any rules. He's pure chaos and lawlessness personified. As he so dead states within the third act of the movie, whereas hanging the other way up off of a building, this is what happens once an unbeatable force meets an immobile object. The Joker desires the tender to travel against his morals and to interrupt his rules. The powerful issue is additionally that you just will see why the Joker does what he does. In some ways in which he contains a purpose which also adds another layer to the character and to the dynamic between the two. It's really an amazing, a tremendous, and unimaginable battle. The sensible performing from Heath Ledger could be a major part of it too. He's fully incredible because the Joker. Rest in peace. I may most likely maintain more regarding however nice I believe this show is, however I'll simply say this. Simply watch the movie. You must watch the primary movie of the trio first, but if that's one thing you absolutely don't want to try and do, I still think you should see this movie. It's just great. The Dark Knight is nearly as good as everybody says and simply the simplest superhero film created. I believe the large question, or the question each one truly cares regarding, is this. Is Patron Saint Nolan follow-up to the critically acclaimed 2005 film Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, nearly as good as most are saying? Quite simply, affirmative, yes it is. There's little question about it. One amongst the foremost anticipated movies of the 21st century punctually deserves every quantity of praise lavished onto it. This can be no standard superhero movie, this is a personality and dialogue-driven piece, not as action-oriented as you would possibly expect. I will be able to not move into plot details, as a result of there's tons of it. However, a basic one-sentence outline is, Tender currently needs to face his most crafty and psychotic enemy, somebody with no real motives, the Joker. Currently that's out of the way, I will be able to kick off with the actors, and boy, is there a lot to speak about. Christian Bale has done an incredible job as our beloved Caped Crusader, with him already processing everybody else out of water with Batman Begins. Bruce Wayne contains a blemished temperament that hangs on the balance between morality and criminal. His perception of justice causes an emotional and private shift, whether or not he's an affluent businessperson who fights crime during a gadget-riddled suit or simply a traditional man who is sick all the scum in Gotham Town and decides to allow the lawbreakers a dose of their own medicine. Due to this, and Bale's tremendous acting, Bruce Wayne is justified, and that we emphasize with Bale. Blemished hero over any of the opposite actors. If there ever was a superb Batman, this can be it. The theme of right and wrong is vie well with his character here. Of course, I'm positive you all need recognize if Heath Ledger was that good. And that I will safely say that he most positively was. Ledger Joker isn't solely the best, however is now the best superhero film villain ever. His performance is actually terrifying, chilling, brilliant, any synonyms of the previous adjectives. Each scene he's in is stolen. The Joker truly is Batman's worst villain, crafty and psychotic, nothing quite matches his laugh and sinister makeup. If Ledger nabs the honor for Best Actor, I honestly won't be surprised. It is a true tragedy to ascertain such a proficient actor fall at such a young age. All the opposite actors cannot be forgotten, though. Aaron Theologian has positively established himself antecedently, thank you for smoking, as somebody to observe out for. Here, as physician Dent, and later Two-Face, he's terribly powerful. All he desires is justice, to bring down each single criminal. Eckhart is that the definitive Two-Face. Maggie Gyllenhaal as Wayne and Dent love interest, wife William Dawes is way higher than Katie Holmes. Gyllenhaal performance has substance, I actually cared for her and her future and she was terrific in each scene. Archangel Cain will do no wrong, and as Alfred Pennorth he provides their for him humorous and emotional scenes. Morgan Freewoman as Lucius Fox, though a restricted role, will inject some tricky humor and far required morals into the story. Finally, Metropolis Oldman Lieutenant James Gordon is riveting. He a minimum of desires a Best Supporting Actor nomination for his performance as another crime-fighting hero who faces some difficult situations. Tom Fulfister filming is just stunning. Gotham has ne'er looked so good, so massive and deep. His wide shots provide a grimy aura and contribute to the texture of the film. While not it's going to not are the same. Another honor-worthy portion, the music. With Hans Frame and James Newton Howard at the helm, however may it go wrong? The score sets the mood in each scene, giving an epic and thrilling tone. Throughout the action sequences, it extremely ups the adrenaline. And on the subject of action, The Dark Knight succeeds in having the simplest fight sequences and car chases during a magazine adaptation yet. With no obvious or overuse of CGI, the explosions and accidents are the $64,000 deal. Thrilling, fringe of your seat and violent, this can be savagely awe-inspiring stuff. Nevertheless, none of this may be potential while not patron Saint Nolan, the person behind it all. Pairing up with the author and brother, Jonathan Nolan, The Darkest Tender show nevertheless is that the best, and also the best up to now this year. This doesn't want a comic book film, the dialogue and things feel therefore realistic. And it's the script that drives this film. The dialogue is very, alright written and is the center of the conflict and the movie. It may be daring to mention this, however, this can be the simplest superhero film of all time. There are others that are glorious, Superman and X-Men are two examples, but this is the foremost complex, the most dark and also the most spectacular and epic of them all. See it for Bale, for Ledger, for the music, the action, and for Nolan unflawed direction, though I don't assume it's the fourth best show ever made, because it is rated consistent with IMDb. I do think it stands head and shoulders higher than its superhero peers, primarily as a result of it is not a superhero movie. Tender could be a mere mortal with ample time to coach himself physically and cash to style the groovy gadgets he uses. Everyone on Earth has seen this film, therefore no use regurgitating the plot. I believe Heath Ledger's rendition of the Joker is a masterpiece. On every occasion he leaves the screen I keep. Joker just appears to be the wild aspect of the $64,000 Jack Nicholson wherever Heath Ledger ne'er steps out of character for the complete film. Ledger Joker is just like the devil decides to become incarnate, but in contrast to Ray Milland, Devil and alias Nick Beale shows his true self, someone who desires to interrupt the spirits of people, to turn them on one another, to promiscuously destroy property, people, whatever. That bolstered once the police will notice no name, no past, no prints. No DNA, not even a label in his garments once they arrest him. His past could be a nice massive question mark. I favor Archangel Cain Alfred. It's sensible to own somebody with relevant past combat and guerrilla expertise, be a wise father figure to Wayne during this role instead of simply a kindly depository piece. Likewise, Morgan Freewoman is pitch excellent as Lucius and Wayne version of alphabetic character, someone who invents his gadgets and runs his business since this extremely. No DNA, not even a label in his garments once they arrest him. His past could be a nice massive question mark. I favor Archangel Cain Alfred. It's sensible to own somebody with relevant past combat and guerrilla expertise, be a wise father figure to Wayne during this role instead of simply a kindly depository piece. Likewise, Morgan Freewoman is pitch excellent as Lucius and Wayne version of alphabetic character, someone who invents his gadgets and runs his business since this extremely different voice from Bruce Wayne. Is he doing that on purpose? And that I assume I found one writing error. Gordon within the finished talks regarding however laborious it'll be to hide up physician/two-face murders as well as two cops. Harvey let crooked cop Ramirez live and simply knocked her out. However, if she had lived, then Gordon and Batman conceived to hide Harvey crimes would ne'er have worked. As a result of she would have acknowledged what happened. Therefore that scene was wrong. Included/scripted? I'd advocated joint of the higher films created since the flip of the century that was conjointly a blockbuster. The dark and sinister mood of the film extremely sets the theme of the show. Synopsis: Bruce Wayne/Batman, Christian Bale, continues to eliminate crime in Gotham Town with the assistance of Lieutenant Jim Gordon, Gary Oldman, and also the new district attorney, Physician Dent, Aaron Eckhart. The Dark Knight desires to finally eliminate Gangdom permanently and be freed from their corruption. Tender shortly finds that a replacement insane mastermind called the Joker, Heath Ledger, has condemned organized crime. The Joker's setup is to scare the voters and throw town into chaos and kill Tender. Tender takes the fight with the Joker personal, that makes him confront his own beliefs. The Joker is the most dangerous criminal that Batman has encountered, and he can want all his strength and vigilance to defeat him. My comment: this film simply blew me away. Christian Bale could be a natural as Bruce Wayne/Batman, and Archangel Kane fits the part of Alfred, the sure butler. Heath Ledger performance, because the sadistic Joker was fully distressing and scary, nevertheless merely amazing. I'd not need to satisfy the Joker during a dark alley, and no matter you do, don't raise him. However, he got his smile, especially once he contains a knife in his hand. Ledger performance has turned the Joker into a replacement painting show villain. Image between all the punches, mayhem, and explosions, there's some sensible sinister dialogue. The movie not solely has a ton of action, it conjointly tells the story of the interior struggle that Bruce Wayne has with being the tender hero. Bruce Wayne desires to be himself and maintain the distinction between himself and Batman. Bruce should plan to follow the code or do what has to be shunned, moving his own morals. The show explores the literary themes of hero versus villain, similarly as order.